Hello, welcome to my kitchen for a very special episode of David James in the Kitchen. Today I'm making an Indian corn wreath. Isn't it beautiful? I love all the different colors of the Indian corn here, the reds, the purples, the yellows, even pink. And I cannot wait to show you how to make this amazing wreath for your door, living room, or any place you plan to celebrate the harvest this year. It really is very simple the way it comes together. You know, Indian corn, typically here in Colorado, I get it out at Rock Creek Farms, and they sell it to me on the stalks, and I bring it home and I dry it. There's a couple of different ways you can dry this corn. You can use baker's twine, like I've used here, and pull the husk completely back and hang it up like this. It usually only takes 2 or 3 days to dry. Or you can tear a little bit of this husk off and use this to tie back some of the husk instead of the baker's twine. If you don't have any of the baker's twine, that's what I've done with this corn here. I've used the husk to tie this off. If you leave some of the corn silk on, that's kind of for the nostalgia. It's really kind of fun, but you don't have to. It does come off relatively easily. Again, like I said, I do get this on the stalk. This is how the corn typically comes, and you're going to want to just carefully pull back each of the husk leaves here to reveal the corn inside. Look at that silk coming out. Oh, I love that so much. So anyhow, you're going to easily want to pull this back and tie this up to dry. I have already dried these. I left this one undone just so I could show you. I love the silk, but we're going to set some of this aside. And so this is what the Indian corn looks like. It really is kind of like a box of chocolates, they say. You never know what color you're going to get when you pull back this husk. It's always a surprise. So this is how it goes. Now, if you've got any corn husk leaves that are discolored or not very attractive looking, just go ahead and pull that off. There's going to be plenty more. You're not going to want a whole bunch of husks anyway. Then, when you're attaching each corn, you're going to want to pull all of these husks just to one side of the corn and bunch them up in the back. See how that kind of looks good? The corn from bottom to top is fully exposed, but you're also leaving that dried corn husk that really is, I think, kind of beautiful for the harvest and for the decor. But this is typically how you're going to prepare your corn, drying it and then pulling back the husks. And I'm going to move this, and I'm going to get my other wreath form, and I'm going to show you how to construct this from beginning to end so that you too can have a beautiful wreath for Thanksgiving. All right, so let's begin. This is a 30-inch wire wreath form. You can use a smaller one if you'd like. I just really think that with these large ears of corn, you can really go big with this. If you get smaller ears of corn like the mini Indian corn, then you can definitely use a smaller wreath form. I guess it kind of just depends on what kind of corn you have available, where it is you live, or what you are able to get if you plan to do this craft. Here I've got a roll of burlap, I want to call it kind of extra thick ribbon. And so you're going to start this. What I tend to do here is I tend to start this burlap underneath one of the rings of this wire form, and then you're just going to start wrapping. Okay? go all the way around, never stop the wire wreath form. This is a 10-yard spool of burlap, so it's going to be more than enough burlap to go all the way around this wreath. Keep wrapping, keep wrapping. See, this whole thing is now completely covered. You got a little bunch there, but we're going to cover that up. So it doesn't have to be perfect with this. This is just to cover it and give it, you know, a backdrop here. So once you've reached the end, go ahead and cut this off. And right here where you began and right here where the end comes is where I would place my very first, this is where I would place my very first corn. Let's grab a beautiful yellow corn. So as you can see, the husks have been pulled back like this because this is how I dried them. But you can, now what you're going to do is you're going to pull some of these husks down around the back side of this corn to create kind of like a bed for the beautiful corn. You see how that is? And so going in one direction, you're going to start laying your corn here on the wreath. If this end of the corn stalk here is too long, just cut it off, you know? So you're going to place this here. Now, to affix this to the wreath, I'm using a 22 gauge silver floral wire. It's going to be very simple. You're just going to start this out, wrapping this around. The first one is always the hardest, because you're balancing, and you're trying to pull it to be really taut. What's going on, Mr. Giel? You want to help me make a wreath? Huh? Can you say yes? What would I do without my dogs? So as you can see here, I've gone around this corn about 3 times. You just want to make sure that it's really on there. I mean, I'm pulling it, it is on there. Now notice I'm not clipping this metal gauge wire. We're going to continue going around this thing without clipping to keep this all together. That's really going to help secure each and every ear. So I like to alternate the colors. So I've just done a yellow one here. Let's do a red one now. Go ahead, if you've used string or extra husk, go ahead and clip it. And Gil is back. Right, Gillings? You like corn? So, okay. So, and notice how I bunch this around, just like that. And then you're going to go ahead and just lay this down again on your wreath form. And again, go around this thing 2 or 3 times. It would also help if you use some of the corn husks to cover up that wire from the first one, but not to cover the ear of corn. You want to do a delicate balance here. Okay? And again, I'm going to wrap like 3 times. And grab another corn. Here's a beautiful orange one. Yes. Go ahead and clip where I tied it. And now wrap this. And this is exactly what you're going to do for the entire wreath, is just keep adding and adding and adding corn. So here I've about finished the wreath, and it's time to about finish it off. I need just one more corn to make this all complete. Let's find a real pretty one. Ooh. Look at this one that's like yellow and black. This is the last one we're going to use. So again, we're going to just cut off what I used to tie this up with. Fold back the husks. Just what I've been doing this entire time on this wreath. And fold them up just so that they're all behind, but that the full corn again is exposed. And we're going to position this. See, this was the very first corn that we laid down, and then this was the second. So we want to lift up this very first one a little bit and get this right under it. And then we're going to take this gauge wire and wrap it. 1, 2, 3. We may need to wrap this. I'm finishing this off. So we're going to wrap this around the actual wreath form a couple of times because I really want to get a good wrap on this. Okay? But you don't really want to see the wire, so you want to be careful not to loosen this bottom one, but to get it underneath and wrap it real good. There, that's exactly it. Hopefully we're getting a very good over shot because this is really very perfect. Okay? And see, now this first corn that we laid down is going to cover up those wires from the very last corn we slid into place. And so now what I do to finish it off is you just pull this up. And this is the very first time and only time you're going to cut this wire. Snip it. And then you're going to wrap it down, in, and around itself, just like you were going to kind of tie off a knot on a shoe, or actually it's kind of more like threading a needle, to be honest with you. Okay? And you get it underneath there. The best thing to do is to kind of create a little hook, like it's a fish hook, and then get under here, and then just hook it under and grab it. Easier said than done, right? There we go. And you're going to just lace it up and pull it. What you're doing is creating essentially a knot. Again, create this little fish hook, scoop it underneath, and with every wrap you do, you're going to pull it taut. So just like you wrapped around the corn, each corn 3 times, I would suggest doing this little fish hook and going underneath here 3 times as well. And this is going to finish it off. And what you're going to do is just kind of hide that wire in the burlap wreath form in the back. Play around a little bit with your corn husks. You may want to pull them around. See, I've already hidden it. Now just check your wreath form to see if there's any spots that you have exposed wire. Now let's say you've got a piece of exposed wire that you've wrapped around, either on a side view, if it's going to be on a door or something, or maybe in the front you got one wrap of the wire. Just take a corn husk here and affix it in there. You may need to hot glue it. You may be able to just kind of place it in there. I would suggest, if you're going to go through the trouble of making all of this, you're going to want to keep it. So I would suggest maybe hot gluing it rather than using additional wire, because that's essentially what you're going to be trying to hide. And just use different husks as you would need them. But I'm warning you, a 30-inch wreath form is going to be very heavy, so you're going to need a very good, sturdy wreath hanger. And this is it. The Indian corn wreath. This is probably my favorite craft I've done so far. Happy Thanksgiving. I love it. I absolutely love it.